Hi everybody, Green Romantic here again. It's day 2 of the snow apocalypse in southern Manitoba, and so far I am surviving, if going a little bit stir crazy. I know, it's only been 2 days, and I'm already wishing that the snow would go away and that I could just go outside without looking at fluffy white stuff on the ground. Unfortunately, I have another something like 6 months of this, so I'm just gonna have to go brave the snow at some point. Yesterday, the snow was blowing sideways and it covered the window of my door in ice, which was really fun. I have a picture here for you to see if you want to. Look, it's Percy there. You can see him in the corner. So tonight I am going out to see some friends for Friendsgiving, which is Thanksgiving except with friends, because I don't get to see my family, who are all in British Columbia, and I don't get to see my friend in Winnipeg because the highways are still closed in between where I am and Winnipeg. So yay! I mean, not that I don't like my friends who are here, they're really great. It's just that I really wish I could have gone to Winnipeg. You'll get tired of hearing me whine about that very soon, I'm sure. So you may have noticed that I've been trying not to tell you where I'm from and where I'm working, but since there are very few places in southern Manitoba that have a university that are not Winnipeg, I'm sure you figured out that I actually work at Brandon University. I'm just gonna say it because otherwise weird things could happen. And just a quick disclaimer that my views and opinions on this vlog in no way reflect the views and opinions of my university. So just that quickly out of the way. Since I'm a sessional at Brandon University, I'm focused more on teaching than on research. But currently I am actually doing some research on a paper that I want to write. So because I'm doing research right now, I just wanted to go through a few things that I was researching. So first of all, I was reading this book. This book is Simulacra and Simulation by Jean Baudrillard, and it is quite a slog to get through. It has a lot of really complex ideas and not very many clear explanations of what they actually are. So you have to sort of decipher what's going on when you're reading this book. Let me read a quick excerpt from the book just so that you get an idea of what I've been going through. Today, abstraction is no longer that of the map, the double, the mirror, or the concept. Simulation is no longer that of a territory, a referential being, or a substance. It is the generation by models of a real without origin or reality, a hyperreal. The territory no longer precedes the map, nor does it survive it. It is, nevertheless, the map that precedes the territory, procession of simulacra, that engenders the territory, and if one must return to the fable, today it is the territory whose shreds slowly rot across the extent of the map. It is the real, and not the map, whose vestiges persist here and there in the desert that are no longer those of the empire, but ours. The desert of the real itself. I mean, what the heck, Baudrillard, right? What does this even mean? From what I can tell after reading this book for a couple hours, is that simulation is actually something that can be created and that can actually exist, even though it's sort of pretending to exist. So simulation becomes real through sort of like this process of pretending that it exists. So, for example, in the book that I was just reading, Baudrillard uses the example of a patient that simulates having a disorder, but in order to simulate that, actually has some symptoms of the disorder. So in that way, it becomes real. So the only reason I'm reading this book, which is very dense and in my opinion, not very well written, is that I want to apply the Baudrillard's theory of simulacra and simulation to gender theory. And for that end, I also have a book called Gender Trouble by Judith Butler, which I will be using in order to look at Butler's theory of gender performativity. So Judith Butler's theory of gender performativity is actually talking about how a person might perform their gender by repeating an action over and over again. And through this repetition, it cements how a gender is supposed to act. So you get gender roles and ideas of what gender is supposed to be by repetition of an action. So I wanted to talk about in my paper that I'm writing is how repetition of gender actually forms a simulacra, which is not grounded in reality, but is instead a hyper-reality. So that's the main idea that I have. I also want to tie it back to the movie The Matrix, mostly because the Wachowskis, when they were creating the movie The Matrix, were actually heavily relying on Baudrillard's theory of simulacra and simulation in order to make their movie. So how does this all relate to gender then? So a fact about the Wachowskis is that they are both trans women and that they both transitioned at separate times and made separate decisions about their decision to transition. So I wanted to look at The Matrix as a trans narrative. This has been done a lot in sort of non-scholarly articles, but I wanted to actually bring it to the realm of the scholarly in order that it becomes sort of legitimized. Not that what happens out on the internet isn't legit, but that it brings more power to this narrative and that it makes it seem more real. Anyway, that's my idea for a paper. I just need to actually finish researching, outlining, and writing it. So hopefully it will be finished by the end of the year, but with my schedule for teaching, we'll see how that goes. I'll keep you updated on its progress. Thanks for tuning in. See you on the flip side.